In the spirit of Halloween, I was looking at costumes at the costume store, and there was a lot of superhero costumes, like Spider-Man or the Avengers, Captain America, Wonder Woman, Power Rangers. And it made me laugh a little bit because, all those superheroes come together, they form a formation to do good, to bring goodness to the world, to bring justice and healing, to rid the world of crime, to bring goodness to the world. Whereas gangstalkers, targeters, are a bunch of narcs that unite to bring abundance of crime and injustice and discrimination and hate and cruelty and abuse in their purpose. And so I was thinking in my head, if you have a formation of Avengers or Power Rangers for goodness, the formation of gangstalkers or targeters, what those characters would look like. And certainly targeting is not funny by any means. It's traumatic and abusive and dangerous and changes the victim's life indefinitely. And, in my personal experience, it's the most horrific abuse I've ever endured was at the hands of my targeters. But in my mind, I had this image of that formation of targeters that, you combined hatred and discrimination and desire to silence and hurt and harm and abuse a targeted individual, what each of those characters would be in their formation. So if we have the targeters, one of the characters obviously is the handler, the one or several who are sent in to get close to the targeted individual, to learn about their dreams and their vulnerabilities and their interests so they can later exploit that information. Oh, you have a goal for this? We'll make sure to destroy that. Oh, you want love and you want to grow in your career? We'll make sure to harm that. To get close enough to their devices to hack them, to learn their routines, to figure out who their contacts are, the usual handling. But there would be the character of the targeters, the handler. Then there would be the smearer or smearers, because there's many that participate in the smear campaign. And this character, their job is to destroy the reputation of the targeted individual, to drag their name through the mud, and to fabricate a new storyline for them, to paint the targeted individual with a black brush. And generally the smearers aren't very creative. It's generally the same lies that they tell in all of our situations, substance abuse, promiscuous, sex worker, unstable, can't hold a job, can't hold housing, whatever their storyline is, but generally they're very similar. But their goal is to totally humiliate and destroy the reputation of the targeter for the purpose of destroying. And then there's the projector, and this is the type of targeting character that takes all of their bad habits and projects them onto the targeted individual. So if they're a substance user, an alcoholic or abusive or a sex worker, that's what they're going to claim that the targeted individual is. Then there's the character of the gaslighters, and these are the mental manipulators that play the mental games, withholding information, downplaying the abuse. Yeah, we vandalized your property and tried to take your life and broke into your house and got you fired from your job, but you're making it more than it is. It's not that big of a deal. Or the gaslighters that are the smearers. Well, we were lied to about you. That's why we attacked you. We're innocent because we were lied to. We shouldn't be held accountable. And I'm going to do a separate video on gaslighting because there's so much to cover with what a targeted individual endures in terms of gaslighting. Then there's the predator. Often in this formation of narcs, of targeters, there's a deep-seated predator, somebody who's involved in extortion, exploitation, larceny, drug smuggling, prostitution, somebody who's involved in really serious crimes and is masked and hidden within this formulated group but there's generally a predator or two that's more serious in their criminal activity than the others. The exploiter, the one that gets close enough to take images and footage, often the handler, to use for the purpose of exploiting the targeted individual, taking their vulnerabilities, getting a hold of their personal information and doxing them and releasing it, getting a hold of documents, health records, falsifying documents, falsifying records, and circulating them, having blogs and group chats and online communications to share information about the victim, to exploit them. And that's hand in hand with the smearers, that public humiliation ritual with the goal of let's harm them to the point that they're totally destabilized and want to take themselves out so we don't have to do it. But one way or another, we've got to get rid of this person and keep them quiet and drive them out of the community. And often people will say, well, who would get involved in targeting? Who would even get roped into this? Why would anyone even want to participate in this? Well, generally the participants are the narcissists of varying degrees in certain areas of the targeted individual's life. Those who have really big egos, and these are the participants that generally would assume the role of a character in the targeting formation. There's often always a narcissist X, if not one or more, but the narcissist X cannot handle rejection. And if a relationship ends with a narcissist, they are on a mission to destroy the victim. In every area of their life, they can't have them succeed. They certainly don't want them to have love or stability. The narcissist X will spend the rest of their life smearing the name of the victim, trying to dismantle the victim, doing everything they can to keep a mask on that they're the good guy, they're the victim, meanwhile behind the scenes abusing and destroying the victim. Then there's the narc family or family members, and often these will join forces with the narcissist X, even though this X has been abusive and violent toward the victim and treated them terribly. The narcissist family doesn't care. They'll join forces because their commonality is hate and the desire to destroy the victim. And it's to keep them quiet and to keep their masks on, to make themselves look like the good guy and the victim is the bad guy. But the narcissist family also can't handle rejection. So if a targeted individual creates boundaries or walks away from a narcissist family, they too will be on a mission to destroy the targeted individual, calling up their job, trying to get them fired from their job, calling up their landlord or their neighbors, trying to smear their name, contacting friends and family, extended family, again smearing the name of their family member because it's often the black sheep, and they need to keep that black sheep categorized as the family failure, as the one we blame, as the one that's at fault for everything wrong. No matter what goes on, it's always this family member's fault. And so the narc family is often very much involved in a gang stalking targeting situation. Then you have the narc boss. This could be a former employer or employers, depending on your situation. We've all had bosses that can be a little bit moody or difficult. I'm not talking about those type of bosses. The type of boss that works through lunch and then every day around 2 o'clock gets cranky and you offer him a snack and then it's fine. Or there's the boss that's going through personal issues that kind of freaks out on everybody during that season of their life that's challenging. I'm going through a divorce, blah, I'm going through menopause, blah, and you offer them chocolate and again, they're fine. But I'm talking about a narcissist boss that cannot handle if you outperform them, or if you get praise from higher ups, they're resentful of that will try to sabotage your work, that will try to badmouth you to peers, to coworkers, because they're threatened by your performance and your abilities. And a narc boss will often, after you leave employment, do everything they can to destroy the reputation of the targeted individual and to prevent them from ever having work in the future, to sabotage their career, to contact future employers or give negative references that are inappropriate, to be unprofessional and to speak poorly about a former employer or employee with other employees and within the community and smear their name as a smearer. Fortunately, there's recourse, and you can consult with an employment attorney, because employment retaliation does have penalty. And if you have a former employer that is part of targeting, that is trying to ruin your work opportunities and your career, you can certainly take legal action to address that. And any agency or organization or business that's going to retain a boss or CEO or a leader that would be so unprofessional to speak ill of any employee, certainly they're opening their door up to a lot of liability. Then you have your narc neighbor. This is the neighbor that is very nosy, will be involved in monitoring and tracking and recording you, because they're generally working with your narc family or your narc ex or whoever is involved in the situation, but they'll be a character of the targeters. This could be a neighbor that you're cordial with and you say hi to, but you don't want to be friends. You keep to yourself. You don't want to, get together for barbecues. You just kind of do your own thing. You're busy with your own life and they can't handle that. And this could also include a narc landlord that's allowing access into your home, or allowing that neighbor to go into your home to do things, put recording devices into the home, or they're threatened because your flowers are prettier than their flowers, or whatever weird dynamic there is. But again, there are laws that protect against landlord retaliation, and you should certainly consult with an attorney to address that specific issue if you're dealing with that as well. If your landlord is retaliating and making it difficult for you to get future housing, and not abiding by the laws that regulate the landlord-tenant relationship. And then you can have narc religious folks, and these are the type of religious members that believe that they're superior. I'm a believer, and I believe that everyone is entitled to believe as they choose, that nobody's better than anyone else. Everyone is entitled to their different belief systems, and it doesn't make anybody above or below anyone. But a narc religious member is the type that does believe. If you don't see it as I do, if you don't live it as I do, something's wrong with you. And you don't wear a shirt under your shirt at the gym, you're not righteous. Or you wear silk undergarments instead of poly cotton blend, you're going to hell. And these are the type of religious members that while they're in the pews at church, they're not focusing on learning about Jesus Christ. They're focusing on speaking ill of others and gossiping and judging others and just being cruel. But often you'll see these types of characters collectively come together in that superiority mindset, vigilante justice. We're going to take this targeted individual out and destroy them because they're different from us. They don't believe as we do. They don't live the way we feel that they should, which is very common with the narc family. You're not following family tradition. You're not following the faith we set out for you. And they'll work with the narc religious folks to aid and abet in a variety of crimes. And then you have the jealous mean girls, and these could be people from high school. It could be guys or girls, but from high school or from childhood, or just former friends that are mad that you've rejected them, or if you're intelligent or attractive and it brings out insecurities within them, they automatically don't like you because of those insecurities that get stirred up. And I imagine this character, the targeters, in a cheerleading costume that's, be aggressive, be aggressive. Let's destroy the targeted individual and participate in smear campaigns and exploit them through circulating images and try to ruin their life. Because really, at the end of the day, the common goal of all of them is destroy the targeted individual. And then you'll have the narc officials, and this could be, corrupt law enforcement, corrupt judicial officers, the bar association, players in high places, medical providers that misuse their power. And these are the ones that are quick to jump on that hate train and not do their due diligence, not fact check, not verify evidence. They may even fabricate evidence to support their friends and community members in this vigilante justice effort to take out this targeted individual, to entrap them and to set them up and to rid them from any blessings or benefits in their life, and to make sure they suffer. Because at the end of the day, the mentality is this targeted individual is different from us, is not living the way we want. We need to keep them quiet. We need to keep them isolated. We need to keep them caged. And so you'll get officials that have an issue with misuse of their authority, their title, their resources, their network of connections, and abuse that power to help a friend. Hey, will you help me falsify this document or provide false testimony? We need a diagnosis on this person because the narc family is having a hidden court case to steal the inheritance of the targeted individual. Or, we're afraid these church members in high positions are going to get in trouble. We need you to help you have your help setting up the targeted individual so they can't testify because we've done all these crimes against them and we need to keep them quiet. And then there's just your narcissist community members, and these are, people that could be that local barber or the cafe owner or city council members or just the public in general that once again are like, oh, all these people are on a hate train. They're all targeters. I want to be a targeter too. Everyone's doing it. And so they once again will believe the smear campaign, believe the lies. Nobody ever fact checks with the targeted individual. Generally, the targeted individual is in isolation at this point to stay safe because all these people are attacking them. But the community members will also use their connections to further spread the gossip like wildfire and to ostracize and abuse that targeted individual. So it's certainly not anything to make light of. It's a horrific abuse toward a community member. But I think there is importance and benefit in really bringing awareness and knowledge to this, because I think there are some people that get involved in this kind of dynamic without even realizing the larger picture, that they're involved in some large RICO crimes and they're involved in, plots to take out somebody's life and to fabricate records and take away finances, their children, destabilize them, get them kicked out of their housing, get them ran out of their jobs, and do horrific things to cause homelessness and health issues and really harm another person. And so often community members and family members that don't know the full story will, oh yeah, you're a victim, this person was terrible to you, yeah, let's get them, or yeah, they're awful because they're not following the faith, or they're not doing this, or they're not doing that. And so by speaking on these issues, my hope is that the right person will see these videos and come to the conclusion like, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into? Maybe next time when I hear someone sitting next to me at church gossiping, or I'm getting my hair cut and the hairdresser's talking about somebody in the community, I can exercise a little bit better judgment and not get involved as a targeter.